Did you stow away in an island-bound trailer while your father did everything but pay attention to you, only to pop up once there was no turning back? Did you then make friends with his miscast replacement for your mother while in the bush? Did you run for your life as tyrannosaurs and velociraptors tried to tear you limb from limb in a retread film that even its famed director was over before completing it? If so, you may have just found Quarter in the Unkind Rewind, where we were subjected to the Steven Spielberg squeakquel to what was then the highest-grossing film of all time, The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Thrill me.
I'm gonna name you Coda. You get a name too, Podo.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You too? You got a boner too? Blue Steel.
Greetings from a rain-drenched Minnesota where I, Josh Dugan, have been trying diligently to find someone in Hollywood to pay me somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million to write a disappointing sequel to a film. Joining us from a presumably dino-safe perch high above the streets of New York is my co-host Sean McGrath. Sean, have you been practicing your uneven bars routine in the event that you need to kick a velociraptor into next week?
Yeah, I should be safe up here because of the elevators. Well, I guess they could figure it out. But I'm thinking uneven bars, kick right onto the third rail of the subway would be a cool scene finisher.
Yeah, if this was going like full Predator 2,
right?
You could totally pull that off.
Yeah, and bear in mind that there's a guy from this movie in Predator 2.
Sure.
The long-haired hunter guy who finds his and probably do a T-Rex or a raptor, but I remembered him when I watched this as being this kind of like very long flowing, I think he's indigenous somewhere. I think he might be Native American or somewhere, but yeah, I was like, why is he so familiar? I think he might be a Predator 2 guy. So yeah.
You know who else was in Predator 2?
From this movie?
Richard Attenborough was the Predator in
kidding.
Predator 2. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a lot of work to get him into that suit.
I know. He got his beach body on for that. This week, we're joined by our special guest, who is lucky she didn't pick the wrong gear to stow away with, ending up in her own lost world. Summer Santos Webber. Summer, why don't you tell the audience who fucking blew it and didn't listen to last week's installment a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Josh. Hey, Sean. I'm a pharmacy tech now, but I've lived previous lives as a legal writer, a postal worker, an English professor, and now I'm in, terrible financial situation of, filing for bankruptcy as a trans woman in the United States, staring down the barrel of this election.
The U.S. is not good at caring about people. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever we talk about plugs, I got plugs.
Sure.
Because
we'll get into that at the end, yeah.
I need money
Uh-huh.
in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, life's great. I'm enjoying this Old Smoky salty caramel whiskey. I just smoked a bowl of Jealousy.
Okay.
And I am feeling this movie is better than we thought, largely by comparison.
Okay.
Well, one of us is.
Yeah. So last week I copped to never having seen this. This came out during the peak of my film snobbery, and I wasn't about to see this. Sean, had you seen The Lost World Jurassic Park?
Like everybody else in the world, I, of course, saw the sequel to Jurassic Park. I had not upturned my nose to this one. Also probably due to the fact that when it was released, I was right in the meaty part of my employment with a United Artists movie theater. And so probably saw it the day before it came out, I guess, with the rest of the employees. I'm imagining that this was a summer release.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so I absolutely would have been working the crowds, and seeing it the Thursday night, or I guess midnight Friday
Thursday
morning.
was the previews. They did previews on Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing this with the rest of the employees who, unbeknownst to me until I started doing these, smoked and drank through the employee screenings. So, good times for a 17-year-old.
Summer, you surmised that it had probably been since college?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much accurate, because I looked, I don't own it on DVD.
Okay.
I don't own it on Blu-ray. Weirdly enough, we own original Jurassic Park. We own Jurassic World. We don't own any of the sequels to either.
So you stated before we got down to brass tacks that you never stopped loving dinosaurs because they're just cool.
Yeah.
Did this rewatch of The Lost World Jurassic Park move the needle in any direction on whether you still feel that way about dinosaurs specifically?
Yeah, no, it doesn't affect my feelings about dinosaurs. I think the movie kind of sucked, but, you know, it doesn't affect my love of the subject matter.
Okay. This movie wasn't so offensive to you that it stole some of your love from dinosaurs?
No, I try not to let things ruin, I try not to let my knowing things ruin things for me.
Right.
I hope only a dinosaur attack could hurt your love of dinosaurs.
It might depend on the dinosaur. Like, I might find it just adorable.
Yeah, those compies. Like one or two little nibbles.
One of them alone is just, that's an adorable little attempt guy.
Also, for the hardcores out there, the compies actually have like something, like some kind of toxin in their bite, right? That's supposed to make you sleep and groggy, and then they like a venomous snake. But they did not.
Or Komodo dragon, actually.
Yeah, they did not touch on that
because there's a paralytic element to the saliva.
Yeah, that's the word
dragon.
I was looking my brain for. But yeah, when Peter Stormare gets it midway through the movie, they do not. It's only like by sheer kind of attrition do they end up devouring him.
Now we're going to throw to our first clip here. Summer, we asked you what you remembered the basic plot of The Lost World Jurassic Park being, and you summed it up thusly.
The basic plot is, oh no, there was a second island where they raised the dinosaurs in the first place before moving some of them to the park. Jeff Goldblum's back. He has a daughter, apparently. She does gymnastics. That isn't going to become important later, not at all. Stuff goes wrong with poachers, and the poachers are trying to take a baby T-Rex, and the T-Rex parents are not happy about that. They do some really fun stuff, which is probably the highlight of the movie. And then somehow we end up making it to, like, LA or something, and we've got a small dino rampage of a T-Rex in LA, and this is never brought up in any of the later movies for some reason.
So I guess they're deciding they needed to memory hole this?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, they take a T-Rex to the mainland, and it eats someone's dog with the doghouse dangling from its mouth, but that's pretty funny. It's just weird. It's a weird movie.
It's not weird.
Good memory.
Yeah. So how do you feel about your recollection of the plot overall?
I think that's an A+. Like, I got San Diego wrong, and I forgot why Ian went to the island in the first place, but otherwise...
Now, do you think it says anything about your memory that you recalled the T-Rex going ham on LA, but that it was actually LA doubling for San Diego? Because that's fucking Burbank. They shot one shot in San Diego. Everything else is LA doubling as San Diego needlessly.
I've never been to LA,
Okay.
So this is just new knowledge to me, and...
If it was San Diego, that ship would be traveling slightly slower. That's an LA speed kind of ship.
Even more amazing to me.
Do you still have issues with Chekhov's gymnastics this time around?
It was a solidly placed gun. I have my note here. I just, uneven bars so dumb she kicks the raptor. I love it. It's so dumb, I love it.
That was one of the few things I didn't have a problem with in this movie. Was it surprising to you that instead of poachers, that it was actually a rival InGen team with eyes set on a mainland theme park?
Yeah, so this is why I subjected myself to something even worse than this movie in preparation for doing this. I subjected myself to a rewatch of Jurassic World Dominion alongside it.
Okay.
Because I had to know, how much did that one rip off from The Lost World in an attempt to do it better and somehow manage to be even worse? We'll get into that.
Oh yeah, I have a point very soon where we'll be talking about the entire universe.
But I want to say, the fact that it's a rival, it's more InGen, and they're lifted straight from this movie, plopped into Dominion. It wasn't good here.
So let's
double down on it, but
No.
make it, a weapons auction instead of theme park 2.0.
There were so many things with that InGen team. It felt like they didn't know they were coming. It felt like
They didn't know they were coming.
They didn't know they were coming, yeah. But, like, Vince Vaughn somehow can control them at will, which was strange.
Because he's like a weird eco-terrorist.
He's a weird bro who also endangered their lives and probably got a couple of them killed when he went bolt cutting the night before.
Yeah.
He absolutely is responsible for Richard Schiff being dead.
But as soon as he says,
and Richard Schiff, the actor, died in this, not his character.
All right, boys. The actor died for this movie?
Yeah, it's his ghost that's in West Wing.
Wow. Well, I actually thought that maybe Richard Schiff had some health problems running around. He's in a pretty stressful scene. He has to get himself pretty worked up.
The scene where he's on the scissor lift?
Where he's being wishboned by two T-Rexes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Uh-huh.
Are we done talking about the gymnastics scene? Because
no. Gymnastics is going to come up so much more.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's such an iconically dumb scene.
But yeah, it felt for a second there that we were drifting away from the main part of this.
Trust me, we're going to come back to the gymnastics.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a couple hours.
Yeah. Now, this isn't in any of my notes here, but I did actually name drop Jim Cotta before in the pre-interview. I name dropped Jim Cotta because I was like, wait, is this also ripping off not just Predator 2, but also Jim Cotta? I think it is, but that's something that's germane to someone else's list.
Yeah, I mean,
Sean and I are
I'm
debating
assuming that in Jim Cotta, he kicks a bad guy onto some cleverly, or not cleverly, but very conveniently placed spikes.
Yeah.
In the ground. I mean, these raptors are pretty much unkillable unless you somehow kick one in the side. I don't really know if you can generate the amount of power to kick a dinosaur of that size out a fucking shed grate, but boy, it really does help if there's Vietnam War spikes laid out for you.
For sure, yeah. Now, did you still feel like the T-Rex parents tracking down their child and laying waste to the high-tech RV was the coolest part of the film?
Yeah, especially just knocking it over the cliff. That part just still looks cool. It's still pretty cool. It's dumb, still. Like, the way it falls around them without any issue and the car doesn't hit. Like, it's dumb. I recognize that, but it's, rule of cool. Just fucking roll with it.
The gripping power of all these actors, too, by the way.
Yeah, to have so many issues climbing in the rain while the thing is surrounding them and giving them opportunities for, footholds, compared to once it's off, oh, hey, we can just climb up no problem this whole time.
When Julianne Moore is, de-roofing that shed, so the raptor goes spilling over the side, I'm pretty sure she has to do that while holding on with
one arm.
One hand.
Yeah.
That is some...
Go Julianne Moore.
That is some V10 bouldering right there.
Okay, so how do you feel about how the T-Rex made it to the mainland?
Just suddenly, oh hey, it's been captured and, no time or explanation or anything has gone into this.
It's killed everyone on this ship and then is in the hold again?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Can you explain how it's able to get inside, like, the bridge and de-arm someone, but not
Take the
mess
whole
up
arm
anything
off
else?
the wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, but not mess up the office to imply that a giant head has busted through it.
I mean, the only possible explanation I can give, which is a bad explanation, then I'll go into why in a minute, is it wasn't the adult who broke
the
out,
baby.
it was the baby. And the baby was then just captured by, what's his name, Nerd Boy and his goons to be transported, as opposed to actually having just been in a crate the whole time.
When you say Nerd Boy, are you talking about the nephew?
Yeah.
Peter Ludlow.
Whose accent, British accent, was all over the place on this movie. Very anti-Tory sentiment in this movie. Like, other than the famous John Hammond, like, if you had a British accent, starting from, like, the rich snobs on the beach in the beginning to, like, this prim and proper nephew, boy, you're gonna get fucked up by some dinos.
Was anyone else bothered by the fact that they called her Deirdre?
Who?
Not
No.
Deirdre?
I didn't clock that. They
called
that
her
at all.
Deirdre, not Deirdre.
I didn't hear that. No.
Oh,
boy.
yeah. Also, you saw who the little girl was, right?
The little girl, I do not remember her name.
Camilla Bell.
I don't know who that is.
She's in so many things.
We're talking the little girl on the beach in the
Yes,
beginning.
little girl on the beach, 10,000 BC.
Didn't see it.
She's in the Rebecca Miller Ballad of Jack and Rose
No,
with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel
no
Day-Lewis.
recollection
Yeah.
of that.
She's the daughter in it. She's like the
Okay.
She's Rose.
yeah. She's in The Patriot. Oh wait, no, wrong. The Patriot. That's the fucking.
So, a working kid actor.
Okay.
Oh no, she's like a working adult actor.
Not
Like,
adult
she's-
actor, grown up actor.
No, adult actress. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well,
No, she's the co-lead in the 10,000 BC remake.
got it.
Okay.
All right. Well, I didn't clock it.
No. I did conflate the InGen dude who died to the compies and her being surrounded by the compies in my head, and I thought she got killed by the compies too.
She
That
might
would've been
have too.
Great.
They did mention in the movie at one point, thank goodness she wasn't killed or anything, like...
Oh, okay.
I love that when your daughter screams and you can't see what's going on, you can still kind of just call out her name. Like, there was a significant delay from your daughter screaming bloody murder to, like, those parents actually going over to check what the
Yeah.
hell was happening.
Was anyone else getting below deck vibes from having all the crew set up their fucking beach meal?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wonder what the subplot there was.
It just feels like we were watching an episode of Below Deck instead of... I actually kind of wish I was watching an episode of Below Deck instead of watching this, but we'll get there eventually. So, did you feel like your assessment of the film as being weird was apt upon watching this now decades later?
Yes, I think I have a better idea of how to put my finger on why it was weird than I
Huh?
did not having seen it in almost 20 years, and it feels like this movie has begun to forget how to feel like a creature feature horror movie and is trying to be too actiony and just kind of missing the mark.
It sure does that.
Yep.
Were there any moments while rewatching where you were struck by the pang of being the kid who wanted to be a paleontologist?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was that kid. I wanted to be a paleontologist. I once told my mom's oldest sister I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up, and she looked over to my mom and asked, "What's that mean? What is that?" I still have some really cool, more modern books on prehistoric life. I have an entire subfolder of my Beowulf research, which is dedicated to Neanderthals, simply because of Michael Crichton's book Eaters of the Dead, which posits that a relict tribe of Neanderthals surviving and fighting with Rus Vikings. Yeah, there's always going to be that part of me that just has this fascination with prehistory and wanting to explore that. So this movie, as bizarre and not good as it is, still kind of tickles that, yeah, these movies really did make me want to get into that.
Now, speaking of Michael Crichton, had you read The Lost World, the book?
Not before seeing it, like, as a kid. I have read it. When we talk about ways to improve the movie, I think chief among them would be just adapt the fucking book.
Do you know the background of that?
No.
So, Michael Crichton was writing the book, and Spielberg went to David Koepp and was just like, don't worry about the book. Watch The Lost World and Hatari. The Lost World, the movie from 1925, and Hatari from 1962, and use those as your primary influences. And then they eventually wove in a few ideas from the novel.
Yep.
But this was like not even remotely an adaptation.
Yeah.
They were basically working on their own thing entirely on the side.
I figured that out once I read the book. I was like, this isn't like the movie. They should have just done that. They should have just adapted the book. That was my thought then, and it remains.
So, speaking more to the adaptation, Crichton didn't even want to do a sequel novel, but because this was such a big hit, he kind of felt like he had to. Spielberg's obviously also returning as the director here. He's directing a darker film with more extensive use of CGI than in the first one. Mm-hmm. He also expressed disappointment with the film afterwards, stating that he'd become increasingly disenchanted with it during production.
That's not a great way to approach a creative thing and have it turn out successful.
Nope.
I think he kind of took Michael Crichton's lead on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to get into this kind of throughout, but it does not feel like a Spielberg movie.
It doesn't feel like a movie.
It doesn't feel like Spielberg was there. This feels like something that many years from now we'll find out, like, oh, it was his AD that did most of this.
Tobe Hooper directed this one.
Yeah, Tobe Hooper had to sneak back.
This was payback for Poltergeist.
It'll be Steven's like deathbed confession.
It was Tobe Hooper the whole time. I actually think Tobe Hooper would have done a pretty good job with this.
I'd have rather seen the Tobe Hooper version than whatever the fuck this was.
I mean, just in something so like simple as character introductions. Like, we get a kind of a funny thing with Jeff Goldblum. Like, I wish the movie did a little bit more of that. It does it kind of throughout, but when it does do that, it doesn't really falter. You know, we have a woman screaming, and then we go into
Jeff Goldblum in front of
Jeff Goldblum yawning, which is kind of a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah, unintentionally so. It's meant to be a funny match on action, and instead
we see our lead protagonist yawning as he enters the movie. But even in, like, when Vince Vaughn shows up, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he backs a car in, can't really tell that it's him. You hear his voice kind of, and then he goes and he adjusts something in the trunk. That's Spielberg not fucking giving a shit.
Right.
I'd forgotten Vince Vaughn was in this movie at all. I think this might have been the first time I saw a movie with Vince Vaughn in it, now that I remember he's in it.
This is where the age difference comes in, and Sean and I obviously, I saw Swingers 3 times in the theater.
Yeah, Swingers was,
I'm your, elder millennial late elder millennial guest. We got a slight generational gap.
No, and I mean, it's
just fun.
It is what it is, but it's funny that, like, people who were graduating high school in the 90s, we all, like, knew Vince Vaughn from these things. And when he did this, we're all kind of scratching our heads.
Yeah, and that was kind of my feeling looking at him last night perspective. I watched the movie again last night. It was just like, what are you doing here?
His team did not know what they were fucking
And at the
doing.
end, I'm just like...
This and fucking Psycho, and they were like, no, we just need to get you the biggest thing, and it was, like, such a fucking misstep. Over and over.
There's not any universe where Vince Vaughn turns down The Lost World. Spielberg basically makes him a personal offer with this movie. Not a
Oh.
movie that he has to audition for,
Mhm.
months and months and screen test with Goldblum.
But, like, if you read this script...
It doesn't matter, Josh. He's a young actor who landed an indie hit, and they were like, the iron is hot.
It's a sequel to Jurassic Park.
Absolutely. You can go do 3 or 4 for you
Even
after
if it
this
sucks,
if you want.
it makes money.
You're not going to turn down Spielberg.
They let him do this, then they let him do the Psycho remake. This is a period of time where Vince Vaughn could become a significant leading man, and not just a leading man in comedies, which is kind of where he ended up going. Because that was obviously kind of where his skill set, Brawl and Sublock 99 notwithstanding, that's kind of where his skill set's best used, and he's in these, like, complete stinkers that I don't think are on him at all, and are with directors who, my mileage varies on Spielberg, but who's with directors who should be doing better things and instead churn out, like, complete dog shit because the concept's not there.
I just don't see a world where it was ever even considered that you don't say yes, ! To
Part
a
in this movie.
personal offer from Spielberg.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, regardless
Yeah.
of the script. It was probably accepted without the script.
I'm sure it was.
I did think to myself also, though, just like, why are you here, Vince Vaughn? And then later on, when we get onto the helicopter on the way out of the island, I'm like, Vince Vaughn survived.
Yeah, where were you?
And then, Vince Vaughn just disappeared from the movie at this point.
Yeah.
As did Jeff Goldblum's daughter.
Yep.
And another thing that you can kind of clock as this movie goes on is that only bad people died.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's only, like, telegraphed bad people die in this movie.
Oh,
Whereas in
That
Jurassic...
dog was an
There's-
asshole, I'm sure.
There's Eddie, who was the other guy with Vince Vaughn. He wasn't bad.
Yeah, he's the one exception.
just
but at least you have...
Kind of whined a little, I guess. Like, is that bad enough to get killed by dinos?
But he didn't shock a compy.
Right.
And he didn't have the hubris to think that he was God and could control species.
Yeah.
The way that, like, I'm sorry, when you're a multi-billionaire, you don't, like, walk down into the dark recesses of a ship to, like,
Capture a baby T-Rex.
A baby T-Rex? No.
That T-Rex daddy was stealthy.
That's the thing about this movie is, like, famously we're told that dinosaurs did not have big brains to go with their bodies, that they were more or less stupid, but you could hear a T-Rex coming from miles away and feel their vibrations, unless they wanted to get that crackle bar in that tent, baby. Because if they wanted to get that crackle bar in that tent, and thank God Julianne Moore tucked it away, because it was smelling that chocolate.
Yeah.
It could creep up to you.
While we're on Daddy T-Rex.
That was Sean's nickname in high school.
Yeah, because of my very small arms.
Yeah, your short arms, yes.
I gotta bring up the way in which this movie... The only part of the movie that I would say is in any way, like, problematic is the 90s style, hey, token black daughter for Jeff Goldblum. Literally so much a token, she's gone for the final act of the movie. Cool. So yeah, she is absolutely a token, but it's also mid-90s diversity. So,
This is hot on the heels of The Big Lebowski, and the question that we're all asking in our heads is, oh, so he's cool racially?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we're saying that, right? We're saying that as soon as she says "Daddy" and comes running through, that we're like, oh, okay, Goldblum he's cool.
Yeah.
It's Little Lebowski's Urban Achievers.
Yeah. Yeah. What I find hard is, like, this is a daughter who presumably is alive the entirety of Jurassic Park 1, and she's never mentioned. Right.
No.
He is a dick-slinging playboy, always on the lookout for the next ex-Mrs. Malcolm,
mentions
as he puts
to him, like, to his face, she calls out that he likes having kids more than he likes sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty tough burn.
She got him good with that one, too.
She got him good with that.
But they have to have a fucking kid in this movie, because that's what the target audience for the whole goddamn thing is. You know, it's 13-year-olds.
If I'm Joseph Mazzello or the, one who plays his sister, and I'm doing that one scene
I forgot we saw them in this.
I was like, are those, like, is this like really well made up stand-ins for these kids who didn't want to come back for this project? But if I'm those kids and I get a call, hey, come back.
Their fucking parents told them, no, this script sucks. Don't do this movie.
Yeah. I would have asked for so much money for that. Like, they have the money. You want me to come back and debase myself to give your movie a little cred? Like, that's what that was. Like, oh, look, those are familiar characters. Yeah. Ask for the moon.
So the other thing, the daughter, okay, that's not great. But on the other hand, if we remember the first movie, how it's the frog DNA that allows them to have males and females for breeding purposes, Daddy T-Rex is a trans icon.
Nice.
Daddy T-Rex.
I'm sure that was the thinking here, right?
One of our first main character trans men in history.
I couldn't distinguish between Daddy and Mommy T-Rex.
You gotta get up into the cloaca, man.
You gotta get up in there. Okay, well, they did not have a Spielberg oneer that drifted us under the T-Rex until we hit
through the,
or whatever they might have had in
some
place
genitalia.
Of cloacas. I don't know if they had cloacas.
Yeah. I mean, they're lizards.
They're not lizards. They're dinosaurs.
They're more like birds. So
which have cloacas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether they'd evolved the cloaca yet, though.
Which would have been a really good subtitle for this movie. Jurassic Park, cloacas.
I'd have been more into that.
That might have just been
than
the
this
porn
confusing
parody.
fucking name, The Lost World at Jurassic Park. The only movie in the series to have this naming convention.
Yeah, where they swapped.
Yeah.
Now, were there any points at which you found yourself longing for your bygone innocence when you were blissfully unaware of the internet and the larger world around us?
Kinda.
Did this take you back to,
kinda,
your 9th birthday?
9th birthday. I mean, 9th birthday, I didn't, I hadn't developed my tastes. I hadn't developed my sense of story cohesion or, characterization or storytelling in general. Like, I hadn't studied and gotten an MFA in translation and a PhD in English literature yet at 9. I was a smart and advanced, but ultimately still 9-year-old kid.
And 9-year-olds, even smart 9-year-olds, are fucking stupid.
Sure are. But, it was my 9th birthday party. I got to see it in the base theater. It was such an impressive experience on me. Like, I didn't worry too much about those things, and I thought it was a fun movie. And I think there's still some fun to it, just not the same fun that I thought when I was 9.
Sure. So, throwing to the next clip, I asked you how you felt about The Lost World compared to its predecessor when you were a child.
As a child, I loved the first Jurassic Park because it was a perfect movie. It was everything. It still is everything. I really liked this one as a kid because dinosaurs. I hadn't developed a critical evaluation kind of way of thinking. Like, right. I did think that Jeff Goldblum's daughter doing gymnastics to escape velociraptors was really silly and tonally weird, but I didn't have that vocabulary to describe it as, like, not fitting the tone of the movie was not a thing I knew how to express. I was just like, okay, that's the part I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish she had used her gymnastics to escape.
Yeah,
like a situation.
I had forgotten that it was knockout.
Like, you had a better edit. A kill.
Yeah.
That thing's impaled. And she has to clock it. Like, I don't want to get my heart rate going here, but like, she has to figure out that velociraptor is going to climb in a certain way and be at a certain point and start heading for that. And then also...
But that's preternatural because she's a gymnast, Sean.
Right, of course. They just know that. They probably have a training sequence set up. Yeah. I mean, there's some pretty good jump scares, I would say. This movie has. One of them is that great Julianne Moore popping her head under that shed.
Yeah.
Coast is clear. No, it's not. Like, I remember in the movie theater that scaring everybody. And even though I'd seen it, it still got me that I was like, oh, damn, yeah, that's a good... Once you give the all clear to somebody... I mean, again, like, these dinosaurs alternate between being, like, Machiavellian, like, sinister geniuses to, like, just dumb fucking dorks who can't understand that Jeff Goldblum's going in that door, and then he's coming out, and then he's going back in. These things are absolute killing machines, and it takes that raptor 4.5 hours to get through a car window. Like, you're 500 plus pounds of killing machine, just jab your head in there and eat his legs. And, like, they're geniuses that can open doors, but they can't understand that Julianne Moore was wearing a backpack. Like, it's got to get that crackle bar, I guess. I don't know.
It's all about the crackle.
Product placement.
Presumably you watched the first one most.
Yeah.
But did you watch Lost World more than Jurassic Park 3?
Jurassic Park 3, what year did that come out? I think I was in high school.
2001.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
in late middle school then. 7th grade, probably, depending on season. But, yeah, it was, I saw 3. We never owned 3. We owned Lost World. I might have watched it once or twice as a teenager, maybe.
Sure.
Just hey, throw on a movie.
So, hierarchically, where does this sit in the Jurassic Park / World universe? I've only seen... This is the first time I've seen this. I've never seen 3. I've never seen Dominion.
Out of the 6?
Out of the 6.
Out of the 6.
Are there 6?
Yes, there's
6.
Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World Dominion, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Jesus Christ.
And there's another one in the works, apparently.
Oh, yeah. It's a goddamn ATM.
That's 4 too many already. Okay, so have you both seen all of them?
Yes.
No, I've seen World, and then I stopped after that.
That was a wise decision.
You haven't seen the 5th and 6th.
That was a wise decision, Sean.
You saw all of the first 3, Sean, and
World.
Jurassic World? Okay. So, Summer, for you...
It's out of all 6.
How do you rank them?
One is one.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, the original,
That's a hot
is
take.
number 1.
One is
That's,
one is one.
That is the clearest thing. I will give the edge for number 2 by the slightest of margins to Jurassic World, based purely on there's a mosasaur in it, and the assistant who gets shunted into babysitting duty and gets just absolutely mauled by the pteranodons and then eaten by the mosasaur. That death scene, fucking amazing. She was like, I want to do this.
Is that Lauren Lapkus?
That's cousin Katie McGrath.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's Katie McGrath.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like gung-ho about it. She was like, I want my character's death to be the most violent thing you can make.
Okay.
And I respect the hell out of her and the filmmakers for doing that much for her death.
So, Park World.
Lost World.
Okay.
This is 3.
That is damning of the next...
Lost World, then Jurassic Park 3.
Okay.
Then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom,
Okay.
then The Lost World Dominion, the wildly somehow inferior ripoff of this one that forgot how to do what this one even managed to do well.
So 6 is 5 and 5 is 6.
Yes.
Okay.
And you would put this almost on par with Jurassic World.
Yeah. World
Okay.
loses a lot of points for basically just being, hey, it's Jurassic Park, but we got
The kids in peril is
but
really
we figured
fucking
it out.
irritating in the fucking... in
Jurassic World is like, hey, like, Hammond's dream has been realized, we figured it out, here it
and
is.
then it goes
and
wrong.
Then still shit goes wrong. Yeah.
I think the critique of Capital is just strongest in the first. in part, even because the park hasn't been opened, it's still seeking investment. I think the critique of Capital in so far as the Jurassic Park series is about that kind of peaked there, and that's kind of what makes a huge difference for Jurassic World just feeling kind of like a knockoff Jurassic Park.
And Sean, where do you come down on? You've
Oh,
obviously you haven't
Christ.
seen 5 and 6 of the presumably the worst two of the bunch, but
I mean, yeah, I have different problems with all the ones I've seen. One by a landslide, of course.
you unabashedly love 1.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty complete film. I think it works where it needs to. I mean, there's some, weird shit. Laura Dern yelling run and then going in for a hug and things like that still are weird issues. But, for the most part, for a movie made in 1992, I mean, the CGI in that one looked better than the CGI in this one.
CGI looked like shit in this one. When the first, and I mean, I think it looks like shit the most because the first time you really see dinosaurs, they look so fucking bad.
I think in part it's also greater reliance on practical effects in the first one than this one, which
Absolutely.
still had some practical, but was starting to get into that 90s CGI, which wasn't that good, especially if it's not something stylized.
That scene where we first see dinosaurs, like big dinosaurs, is the Stegosaurus.
Yeah, and they look terrible.
They do.
They look bad. They're introduced really shittily, which
Uh-huh.
makes me think that, Toby Hooper did this, because the way that Spielberg introduces dinosaurs in the first one, we don't see him. It takes a long time to see him. And then when we see him,
It's majestic.
it's a money shot. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here they kind of pass the camera. They look grainy. And we have that terrible sequence with Julianne Moore ducking just in time,
Yeah.
the swing of a spiked tail. And then, thank God for a hollowed downed tree that you can scurry into. And then even after that, 5 or 10 minutes later, she's completely calm and not worried at all about the situation. It's you almost got gored.
I kind of loved that about her character this watch, not gonna lie. Because it showed me that there's an attempt here, at least to some degree, to have character conflict between her approach to things and Malcolm. There is a half-hearted attempt here to have characters who character, which is also kind of where things really fall apart with the later Jurassic World movies, especially.
Then I think you need a line where Goldblum says to her, "You almost just died."
Yeah.
And what is your response to that? Rather than having the script never really acknowledge how close she came to that.
Yeah.
And that, oh God, that introduction of her, oh, you just happen to be taking a photo, next to,
And she's
there's
just totally
no-
unbothered.
no awareness.
I couldn't have hated her performance more. I thought
And
she
you
was...
like Julianne Moore.
I don't.
Well, I like Julianne Moore, and I don't like
I like Julianne Moore when she's playing basically a version of herself. So I like her in Boogie Nights. I like her in Shortcuts. I think she's pretty good and safe. I think whenever she has to play a character that is outside of her wheelhouse even a little bit, I think it almost always reads as I can see her acting and it's really irritating to me. Very specifically, she has problems playing any characters with any semblance of authority. And so in this, or the other one that sticks out to me especially is Next, the Nicolas Cage epic. But
What about Magnolia?
She's mostly fine in Magnolia, but again, she's basically playing herself. And honestly, I haven't seen Magnolia. I obviously, we both loved it when it came out, but I don't know if I've seen it since 2002.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's not my main issues, of course, but
No. I think the movie's almost entirely unenjoyable.
Introduction of characters and introduction of dinosaurs both were something that
it's shocking.
he gets
how
really
it's done.
right in Jurassic Park 1.
When we're meeting the other InGen team, when we're meeting them, it's like, this is fucking awful.
And they're bad at what they do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, who allows? I mean, even though you smuggled a Walkman, Peter Stormare leaves his backpack there. Like, you do not leave a man who's left his backpack. I mean, that would be a huge issue.
Did Pete Postlethwaite strike anyone else as being like horribly miscast? Also,
Which guy was that?
He was the bald.
Okay, yeah.
He's the apothecary.
He just felt
in Romeo.
He just
Juliet.
felt weird as a big game trophy hunter guy.
Yeah, because he's not that.
Here's what it is. This movie is so derivative of its parent that it needs to have a 1997 version of what we saw in 1993. And Pete Postlethwaite is our Robert Muldoon, our warden, who says clever girl. We have a oiled up, thighed, short-wearing guy with a big gun from not America in Pete Postlethwaite, who knows how the animals work and like is so confident, and actually was surprising to me on this rewatch that he does not die. He had all the makings of
a great death.
A T-Rex should be shitting him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, going back to Vince Vaughn sabotaging so many people's lives by stealing his gun, by his shells, and then bringing them up later in the helicopter as his... Well, we never... Like, 30 people are dead because of you.
Yeah.
But a T-Rex didn't get shot once. And they had small machine guns. Like, those T-Rexes got shot a lot. It's not like an elephant gun's gonna put it down.
They seemed like asshole mercenaries. I'm not too bothered by them dying.
No, which was why it was so surprising that Pete Postlethwaite lives.
Yeah, that's such an
But he had his come to Jesus moment. I mean, I'm not trying to excuse it.
But Julianne Moore is Laura Dern, right?
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Goldblum has to take the mantle of Sam Neill. We have Attenborough. We have, instead of the lawyer, Donald Gennaro in Jurassic Park 1, we have the nephew with all the money and all the, the confidence in this one. It's like we tried to make like a copy because it works so well with these changes. What happened to the goat? That's the fucking dog.
Yeah, it's kind of a situation of, okay, take very loose character moments. Don't try and keep story beats because you don't know what a story beat is right now. And just do something with it. San Diego, cool. The fact that it's this way, like, this is kind of part of where it's like, this is a hard fall off from the first Jurassic Park. Jurassic World is only marginally better because it paints by the numbers of Jurassic Park better.
So, in the pre-interview, I did surmise that this was an Academy Award nominee for Best Visual Effects. This, of course, came out in the calendar year of 1997. So it and its fellow nominee, Starship Troopers, fell to a little movie called Titanic, which also beat the shit out of this at the box office, nearly lapping this twice, despite this being the second highest grossing film of 1997. This amassed box office receipts of $618.6 million against a production budget of $73 million.
Jeez.
Now, the production budget doesn't take into account the fact that they spent $250 million on marketing.
Yeah, it was everywhere. It was everywhere.
That is Waterworld money on marketing.
Everything from fruit roll-ups to Burger King to
everything.
Car washes was stamped with Lost World.
And that's money poorly spent.
Yeah.
I mean, they spend at least $150 million too much
Yeah.
on marketing.
They would have got this. It's Jurassic Park. Like, it's a sequel to Jurassic Park. It's gonna print money. You don't need to do this.
No, the ROI on that is a net negative. It's insane how much they spent on marketing to end up with the box office that if they had done, a very marginal like $25 million in marketing, it probably still does $450, and they didn't spend fucking $225 million too much on marketing.
Yeah, it was everywhere. And I think like that's like kind of the smugness maybe is what kind of gets me with this. Maybe it got like young Josh too, but like the assumption.
Well, young Josh didn't bother with this because...
Right. But maybe he knew something he didn't know then, which was that they didn't need to do fucking anything in terms of quality control because this is a cash machine and will always be a cash machine. And yes, Summer mentioned that there's another one in the works. Whether or not it's going to be Pratt and company, I don't know. But like this franchise will outlive us all because people still go. And not only do they go once, they go twice, and then they buy it, and they buy all the merch. There's nothing that is demanding of them to put out a better product.
And we're never going to get a better product. Which is why I don't need to watch any of the further ones.
Summer, just like out of the blue, unrelated to kind of what you've seen in the world, like what would really speak to you as a Jurassic World fan or a dinosaur fan? And like, I want to see this. Like if you had a creative team.
I don't know. I think one of two options would appeal to me. I think back to basics, a creature feature horror movie with light action that remembers what a creature feature horror movie is supposed to feel like, but doesn't have to necessarily be a retread again of Jurassic Park, with the setting and everything. I think that could be one option because I feel like in a lot of ways we're, for horror, starved for like proper creature features these days. That's one option. The other option is to go fucking off the rails with it and do a fucking David Attenborough style dinosaur documentary, Blair Witch-ish kind of hybrid of it becomes horror for the crew at some point, but we get a good long chunk of just dinosaur documentary filmmaking kind of thing. I think one of those two would be the kind of thing that would speak to me the most.
At least either one of those would be outside of the box as the box exists
now, It's a very, very confined box here.
You and I are thinking the same thing because I wrote down Attenborough brother to come in for narration. Like that would be a funny project just to kind of hear David sneak in and talk and like maybe like talk to the camera and like use his hands but I fear that we're going to get a prequel, that we're going to get something on Isla Sorna in the breeding program that we've talked about because we bred them on Isla Sorna. Thanks for all the context. Thanks for all the plot in that the scene with Goldblum and Richard Attenborough.
Ugh.
I'd forgotten about that scene so completely.
I don't know how we all didn't drown in plot.
That is definitely a lore dump.
So what you're telling me, John, is that this other island they don't know about, and there's dinosaurs there, and they're living in harmony, and then we gotta go there, and and you gotta
just
like,
the most turgid fucking exposition dump.
It is,
and
so
the reason
rough.
for this is the power struggle in InGen, and Hammond has turned a new leaf. He wants to expose the reality of dinosaurs to the world, so that way people will take conservation of them seriously and protect the island, and it's like, oh boy. And that is the biggest plot beat that Jurassic World Dominion steals. Is just the entire premise just becomes this, but dumber because there's a volcano involved in Jurassic World Dominion, and then they outrun the volcano.
And something about that volcano, Summer 2, that like bothered me in Jurassic World was that those actors were not really instructed to specifically react where that rubble is kind of coming down. So when you have Chris Pratt, like, running on a straight line, and there are huge boulders, fiery boulders, landing at his feet. He's not reacting to them because they're not there.
Yeah.
And they haven't marked where he should.
Because we've completely forgotten the art of making a film.
So, next clip I'm going to throw to, I asked you what memories stuck out to you most about your past with the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the fact that this was my 9th birthday party, like, I genuinely do not remember any of my birthday parties, like, as a kid, other than this one. I didn't know what a golden birthday was at the time, so, like, I had no reason to mark this as particularly significant toward other birthdays, but this movie hit right at that time. I was still a kid super into dinosaurs. I got to have a bunch of my friends come watch the movie. We had the theater. I could go into the projection room if I wanted.
Okay.
Which was neat. I think I did, like, just kind of to check out the projection room.
I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're a kid, you get to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, it was wild. It was fascinating. And because, you know, film was still film, it's a completely different thing now, and, like, that's the only time in my life that I ever did go back there, so it's the only time in my life I'll ever really have that opportunity to see the film reel rolling.
I mean, unless you go to, like, a revival house very specifically, yeah.
Or someone hooks up, like, their own film reel at home for, like, a thing, but, yeah, this was one of those movies where, like, as much as I am willing to look at it and go, that probably wasn't very good, I enjoyed it a lot, and it holds a very special and dear place in my heart. God, I sound like such a film snob when I'm so not. When film was film. I mean, yes, I mean that in a literal material sense, but
I think everyone should get that.
I just find it very funny because I do feel like a film snob at points in this, and I'm so not.
So, did you have any moments where you flash back to your 9th birthday party on the base in Puerto Rico?
Not while doing the rewatch. I mean, I sat down with my spouse, we watched it together, we kind of MST3K'd it throughout while I took notes.
How can you not? Jesus.
It was enjoyable in a completely different way than kid me, who's just in the pure rapture that is, hey, dinosaurs. Because when you're a kid, hey, dinosaurs is good enough, especially if they're dinosaurs doing violence on humans.
So did this make you long for the flicker of the film projector again?
So, branching off that question in a less literal, so I've seen exactly one movie in theaters since the pandemic.
Okay.
And that was Barbie. Absolutely worth it. Before the pandemic, the last movie I had seen in theaters was Onward. It was a Pixar one. It was kind of...
Okay.
It was elves and
kind of one of the...
That hence my blank.
Good enough, but a kind of in the forgettable genre of Pixar movie. I like seeing a movie in the theater best, but I'm also just not feeling terribly inspired by most of what I'm seeing coming out to actually feel it's worth the effort. Barbie was the thing that got me out, and I'm like, why should I settle for anything less than Barbie?
I think last year was a strong year for cinema, but only in foreign film. I think last year had some of the best foreign films I've seen, and I'm including the UK, that I've seen in probably 5, maybe 6, 7 years. Very, very strong year. American films did not... I mean, Josh and I really haven't talked about our top 10s, but, like, you needed to go to UK, you needed to go to Germany.
Finland.
South Korea, Finland, of course.
Fallen Leaves was amazing.
Do you know where Fallen Leaves ranked on your top 10? Have you done something like that?
Yeah, I think I had it 2 or 3.
I had it 4. Yeah, so that's... I mean, Summer, if you want one recommendation from the
Fallen
two of us,
Leaves.
All right.
Check out Fallen Leaves.
I'll check that out.
Aki Kaurismäki, Finnish...
Okay.
The Finnish Jim Jarmusch. Yeah.
Just a lovely film. The less we say now, the better, because it's just... Yeah, very simple. But yeah, Lost World was a movie that was like, it kicked the fucking door in and said, we're a big summer blockbuster. Open your fucking mouth and just eat what we give you.
Yeah.
I mean, it really
and
was.
yeah,
I mean,
it's going to be covered in shit, but
we
whatever.
did, and god damn it, we did. We ate the crackle.
Yeah.
We ate this thing, made it so much more money that
Speak for yourselves.
It boggles my mind that we went from 01 to 2015
without an attempt.
without Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible.
Well, it's probably possible because the third one
Really,
sucked, right?
yeah,
It made money.
It sucked too, but yeah.
Look at its budget. Look at its budget. Look at
This
versus
spent $250 million on fucking marketing. Do you think Jurassic Park 3 spent much less?
I'm guessing it made back a lot of money. I'm guessing Kathleen Kennedy didn't get fucking fired.
I don't think it was a runaway hit. That the first one, obviously, massive fucking hit. Biggest movie of all time at the time. Second one gets almost lapped twice by the next biggest movie that year.
Mm-hmm.
Third one, does it even finish top 5 in the box office that year?
My recollection of the third one, at least in terms of general response, was also lead up, well, maybe it'll kind of be a return to form, but after it released, it was like, yeah, maybe that was worse, even. There was a lot of uncertainty about, is this one even worse than Lost World? And that was palpable right away.
Jurassic Park 3
I'm looking.
cost $93 million to make, and it made $368.
But that's not counting marketing, which they spent fucking $250 on in the fucking in 2.
Okay, well, I'm looking at a budget that I'm assuming includes marketing.
It doesn't, though. It doesn't. Like, I very specifically have the figures for the second one, and the production budget was $73 million, but $250 in marketing on Lost World.
Okay, so 126 is what we're at. It spent about $30 million.
Yeah.
In marketing, and it made $277 in domestic gross. That's a lot.
For which
Jurassic Park 3.
I'm seeing domestic gross was 181 and worldwide is 368.
368, I think, is total
For
but-
3. For
yeah,
3
okay,
for worldwide. I'm saying worldwide.
Yeah. Okay,
No.
that's a lot of money. That's enough money that you would do Jurassic Park 4 in 3
But I
years.
think if you see the return versus the overall budget of the film with marketing, not just production budget, I think if you're seeing the one go in one direction, one it's getting more expensive to make and market and do all of this shit, and the return on investment continues to dwindle. You see that the two lines are moving in opposite directions, and 4 is you're probably oversaturating the market, and the fourth one's going to be a fucking disaster.
Maybe the tea leaves spelled out that you were going to ruin things, and you had to put it in cryostasis until 2015.
Because the third one worldwide made fucking $240 million less than the second one.
Yeah, the big key here is that you didn't have Sexy Goldblum.
But didn't you have? I have no idea.
Are you going to say Sexy Sam Neill? Are you going to say Sexy Sam Neill?
Aren't Dern and Neil in it?
Definitely Neil.
I thought they're both in it, right?
Probably Dern is, but you're talking about Sexy Jeff Goldblum.
It took until Harry Potter 1 for Lost World to be dethroned for the record of highest grossing opening weekend of all time.
Or was that Memorial Day weekend?
So in Harry Potter 1 was what? 03, 04?
2001.
Okay. So it only had that.
But yeah, like,
for
4 years of this shit movie having the highest, it really speaks to how much Jurassic Park, the concept and the execution of that first movie really built so much inherent goodwill toward it going in.
Yeah. And, like, I can't think of alternative projects that feature dinosaurs on this level because probably of the limitations with CGI.
Yeah.
But holy shit, like, people just want dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Now, this unseated the previous largest opening weekend for I think it's a 4-day weekend. But the previous 4-day opening that was bigger was fucking Batman Forever. So big opening weekend doesn't mean
That
much.
is also
in
that is
terms of quality.
one I did see in theaters.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yep.
There's gymnastics in that, though. Yeah. I believe Robin provides the gymnastics.
Is Robin in Forever and... No, Robin's only in Batman and Robin, isn't he?
No. He's in Forever.
Okay.
Yeah. Bet me.
I care so little about...
Bet me.
Nope.
Do it. Shake the hand.
So I asked what expectations you have for your return to Lost World, and you responded.
I am expecting... I feel like I'm probably going to be surprised in some ways by, like, either the level of violence meeting or exceeding what I'm expecting based on my memories of it and the first movie, or falling short. One of the two. I feel like I'm not going to land exactly where I think the violence is. Like, I remember the opening scene of this movie pretty well, and the blood... the little creek turning red, I remember that. Like, there are bits like that I remember strongly. Maybe the amount of time given to some things like gymnastics and such will be what surprises me. It's been forever. Like, I remember the girl being like, "Hi, Dad," and like doing like a little thing, and then later on, oh, she does parallel bars to escape the velociraptors and uneven parallel bars, and it's like, well, okay. I'm not sure if there's more of that. I kind of hope there isn't.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be entirely surprised if there is, and I've memory hold it. There are so many stupid little Chekhov's guns in this movie. It's like, to the point of just losing any impact any of them could have. I vastly underestimated in my memory just how much of that there was.
There was even one that didn't go off where Julianne Moore says, like, "You're never showing up for me," or "You're never showing up on time. That's always been your problem.
Right.
You're never there," or something like that. And it was like, okay, we're going to build to some moment where, like, he swoops in at the last second and, like, he is there, he's come back. No, we never get that. So, like, it's a big, like, pull of the rug.
And that was such a very meaty potential bit of character growth they could have had there, where she's basically saying, like, I don't need you to save me except for actual times of danger. Learn to judge that, and it just never goes anywhere.
I mean, the only character that grows at all is the hunter. Name one thing that's different about any fucking character in this movie other than Roland.
Kelly is now traumatized.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe she learned a lesson.
I love that, like, when her dad is hobbling, because Goldblum's beat to shit in this movie, rolling down hills. There were so many falling down hills in this fucking movie. That should have been the goddamn subtitle of this thing. Lost World Falling Down Hills.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, he's got like a busted up knee and he's hobbling and she's like, "Carry me." I'm like, you want me to like this character? What are we doing?
How do you feel like the level of violence played to your memory of its violence?
Like, obviously I conflated the little girl and the hunter guy with the compies, but I remembered the river running red nicely. I had memory of, like, the T-Rex eating the bearded guy and the waterfalls lightly turning red. It was like... And Eddie getting wishboned by the T-Rexes. Like, those are the things I remembered. That was the only really big violent moment that was, like, fully shown on screen, and I kind of just wish there were more, because it doesn't know how to pace the subtler off-screen, but, you know, River Runs Red kind of kills into the full-on, oh my god, this is terrifying on-screen kills. It just fails at the pacing.
Oh, it fails at pacing across the fucking board.
Yeah.
And that whole, like, blood reveal thing is a trademark.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think back on the...
It's a delightful little trope. I love it.
Yeah. The rollers, conveyor belt in Temple of Doom. Like, we want to see the blood later.
I love that trope, but, you know, you gotta learn how to use it right.
Well, I think he knew and apparently forgot.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay. I closed the pre-interview by asking you if you thought you'd like the movie, and you responded...
I think the inner child in me is going to like it. I think the adult with critical thinking faculties is going to go, wow, I really need to turn off my brain and just eat the popcorn. Yeah. Because that's the only way to get through this one. And I think that's kind of where the split is. Like, the inner kid is going to be so happy to be revisiting this, and the adult is going to be, well, it can't be worse than Jurassic World Dominion, right? And I had forgotten entirely about that answer to the pre-interview when I made the decision to watch Dominion on Monday, preparing for this, because I was like, let me just get into these two. One, is Dominion ripping off this one? If so, why? How badly is it failing? Why is failing at ripping this one off somehow worse? Yeah, kid in me loved the movie. It was fun to revisit. Adult in me needed to smoke a bowl and MST3K it throughout while taking notes. And she, even with all that, is surprised to say, I like it, relatively speaking, in comparison to literally every other movie in the franchise after it. Yeah, it's the third best, I guess.
Put that on a poster.
Okay, so moving on to picking up the scraps, is there anything we've missed that anyone feels we need to talk about?
I mean, I just wrote down the least interested press conference about fucking dinosaurs ever. Jesus
Terrible
Christ.
Press conference.
You gotta talk to your extras, man. You gotta fucking... Spielberg, what are you doing?
It's such a late Chekhov's gun to put down there, too, because it fires off with the interview with Hammond after the incident, where he's, like, making everything public because, well, cat's out of the bag, which I'd completely forgotten is a thing. Like, they still never talk about this in any of the later movies, but it's kinda also not important that it happened. It just kinda... the way the time jumps happen between this and 3 and 3 and World...
I mean, I just disliked this movie so much that I'm having a hard time even narrowing down what things...
Because it's all... it's...
Like, the first 15 minutes are interminably long. You're just like, what the fuck? This is so slow and boring.
It's just, everything about this movie is ultimately inconsequential.
Also, you're watching someone just forget how to make a movie. It's honestly, this is as infuriating to me as like watching The French Dispatch was, where I'm just like, this motherfucker just completely forgot how movies are supposed to work and let this come out anyway. It's so frustrating to me to watch something that cost this much, have this much time and effort go into something and have it be completely mailed in. But whatever. Okay, major gripes.
Oh, the movie?
Starting with Summer, what was your biggest gripe with the film this go around?
I don't know. I think I'm almost at a point where I'm kind of at peace with the movie in the sense of the whole movie sucks in just about every way, but it's funny enough how it sucks for me that I just kind of swing back around to, like, I don't have any gripes because if I change them, it sucks less, and that's less funny and fun.
Okay. Sean, what about you?
The movie. I mean, it just felt like Spielberg didn't fucking give a shit.
Yeah. Because he didn't. He clearly didn't. He said he didn't.
With the exception of the trailer going over the cliff, which again, I don't really understand how T-Rexes are able to understand like the correlation between like, oh, we're going to push this thing over the cliff and like kill those people. Like they wouldn't, but like
No.
regardless, like there's some good tension, camera work. She falls on the plate glass, which is a cool
Cracking
moment.
was really cool.
The cracking of the glass, that's always, like builds your tension. It's like he shot that first, and then he was like, I gotta like start fucking doing Saving Private Ryan prep.
Yeah, there are moments here and there that have the juice, but there's nothing tying them together.
I was actually very irritated by the trailer scene. It just felt like, oh, this is a set piece we're going to build a movie around. And so even here, it's like, no, this is just set piece. Everyone's going to talk about this. They're going to be like, oh my God, this is... And
They made
like,
a playset out of it.
I bet they did.
It feels like, okay, my major issue with the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie is that it's basically like fucking two stoners decided they were going to make a movie around 4 set pieces. And this felt like it was a fucking movie made around 2 set pieces, maybe 3. But like, we've got the set pieces in place, we'll just build everything around it. And then they forget to fucking build the rest of the movie around it.
Mm-hmm.
So even this reeked of like just mailing this in. Like, no, we thought of this moment that could be cool and let's just like build shit back out from it.
It didn't feel like he cared. It didn't feel like he was in the game.
It didn't feel like anyone really cared that much. Goldblum is practically sleepwalking through his scenes because he's just not...
Yeah, I mean, there's... Okay, the very small thing that, like, good Spielberg would have done is, like, when his daughter comes out of the trailer and she's like, I think I burned it or something, right? She's got the pan and it's smoking. She's like, I think I overcooked it. We don't have a reverse shot showing Goldblum see his daughter now on this island. Very, very small thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you have to show us, punch in on Goldblum, now realizing that his daughter is in the most dangerous place in the world, probably, at this point. And we don't. We end that scene on her, and then we cut to, like, people... packing. Everybody's always fucking packing a backpack in this movie.
Ending the scene on
loading
her
a truck.
is, focusing on kids' reaction and the presumed child target audience being empathetic to her as opposed to
worrying about what makes the story better.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take the main character and the biggest name in your movie and give him a reaction to this huge dramatic development. I assure you, Jeff Goldblum can fucking nail that
It's
look.
a complete whiff to do it so backwards and think, well, it's a movie with a child audience, so she's the face we want in this moment.
Who will then disappear for the fucking entire final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without word, without explanation, just she's fucking
She
gone.
and Vince Vaughn fucked off to somewhere.
Yep.
It's a small thing that's a big thing. And they're everywhere in this movie.
It's like scene after scene after scene of fucking forgetting how goddamn storytelling works.
And you have no excuse. With this budget and who's behind it, you have no excuse. Saving grace.
And that's the thing that
No, fix this movie for today.
Oh, Jesus. They're not, I mean, like, just do another Jurassic Park. Like, who like, what would you do? You don't have to fix it because it's, we look at the economics. I'm sorry, but like the economics say that if you put out a Jurassic Park movie, everybody gets fucking paid.
Yeah.
For me, fixing this movie is fucking crib death. Fucking put this down before it ever fucking comes out. You just have one Jurassic Park. And that one Jurassic Park would be fucking cherished. Instead, we kind of like... I haven't fucking watched Jurassic Park in 30 years.
Yeah, but we need to remove retconning history from, like, fixes. Like, if you actually learn, like, okay, let's
If I had a time machine, the first thing I would do after killing Hitler would be fucking make sure that this goddamn movie doesn't come out.
You would do this first, Josh, to be honest. Come on, fess up. Hitler's secondary. That's how you feel about this. Okay, saving graces.
Yeah.
Saving grace
Summer.
is... The saving grace of this movie is honestly that it is so bad it wraps around into stupidly funny. That's the positive thing I can say about it. It's just, like, the
Mhm.
moment with the parallel bars, I'm just like, she kicks the raptor. This is so fucking dumb. I love it. Because it's a comedy of errors. In the sense of it's a comedy made up entirely of how much of an error this movie is.
Sean?
I mean, Goldblum still has some good lines, but I think probably the best part of this movie is the introduction of the raptors. We know what the raptors are. They're scary as fuck. And when their heads pop up in the high grass,
And the hunt
and we
begins.
get actually an interesting fucking shot. Like, somebody actually was like, hey, Spielberg, can you think about this for a second? And we get the bird's eye of them snaking their way through the grasses to those hunters, to InGen. Like, that's good.
That is good.
That's a good tense sequence. The shed, Goldblum fiddling with the gas station and the door, and like, okay, we have a little bit of a movie there. That, I guarantee you, is much more terrifying being released into San Diego / LA than one big clunky fucking T-Rex that can somehow disappear off of a boat and slip into the suburbs or wherever the hell he is.
Which
No.
would be a long fucking haul from the harbor.
Yes. No, that can't happen. Every car there has an alarm, and they'd be going bonkers.
I don't know if I have a saving grace, honestly.
It could be that Daddy T-Rex is a trans icon.
There you go. Take that. Take it.
Yeah, take it.
Own it, Josh.
Yeah. Trans icon.
I'll
Daddy
say
T-Rex.
this, like John Williams' score comes back in this. John Williams has this great score from Jurassic Park 1. It has to do so much fucking work.
Mhm.
There's scenes where they're like, we're fucked. This scene has no energy. We just plot dumped on our audience. Hit him with that, Williams! They hit our fucking ears with that John Williams score at so many junctures where they're like, we have no drama.
Mhm.
Hit him with the Johnny Williams.
Honestly, this movie, if you dubbed over the John Williams score with the kid on a recorder version that's in the memes.
Oh,
like,
that'd be great. No,
Yeah.
that's a really, really
That
good idea. That this movie should be
is
replaced
the centerpiece.
Uh-huh.
with that.
That is the centerpiece of what a perfect version of this movie would be.
I think this would have worked better with a fucking Harold Faltermeyer score, but what do I know?
Recut it. The Dugan cut.
Anyway, alright, so Summer, overall, how did you feel about your return to Lost World Jurassic Park after all this time?
I'm glad that it was still better than Jurassic World Dominion, so when I came to this one after watching that the night before, I could still feel like, well, I'm moving in the right direction.
I think
Yeah.
that Summer did what only Summer could, which is just kind of have let's have fun with how bad this is, as you put it.
I was unable to do that.
But Summer's nostalgia was
sure.
able
Let
to
you that
ride
let you
the
do that.
wave.
Yeah, like, my kid self thinks Dinosaurs, great movie. My adult self is able to look at this and go, this is a shit movie. But I'm not going to be hung up on you being shit. I can still enjoy this. Like, I could still enjoy a Marvel movie, I'm sure, if I popped into one at some point here, but, like, it's almost inevitably going to be a disappointment. But it'll be a fun disappointment. It'll disappoint me in surprising and new ways.
Speaking of very bad Marvel movies, and this is obviously a Sony version, but everyone should see Madam Web, which is a complete disaster in the most absurd ways.
I've heard how much of a disaster it is. I'm kind of intrigued.
Oh, watch it.
I'm guessing they don't have a cheap cutaway to fleeing Japanese businessmen.
That was just so corny and perfectly
running down
dumb.
the street.
They're like, we need to just be like, hey, let's remind our audiences of another great dinosaur running down the street,
Yeah.
Godzilla.
That was some fan service for a different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway here is if you want to get to a multi-billion-dollar asset of a baby T-Rex, all you gotta do is drive your fucking Chevrolet through one wooden gate and just continue down one straight road until you basically run into the cage in which it's not locked, she's being held. And Julianne Moore, the strongest woman of all time, carrying a 300-pound T-Rex baby for the duration of this movie.
I mean, you saw her de-shingle that roof.
Oh, yeah.
Her grip strength, her bicep curls are unmatched.
No notes.
So before we say goodbye to listeners at home, where can they find you, Summer?
So, I exist in many corners of the internet. The ones that are particularly relevant are I stream sometimes on Twitch at St. Ridley.
Is that a Metroid reference?
Yes. It is a
got that
Metroid reference, and
I got that reference.
I got your reference of getting my reference.
There we go. Nice.
I stream there sometimes. The weeks that this one and the pre-interview drop, I intend to be streaming the nights those go live. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, when this one goes live, I'll be streaming that night sometime.
And people want to talk dinos?
Maybe I might be playing I don't know, Pokemon
Dino Crisis.
or Elden Ring.
Play some Dino Crisis.
I don't have Dino Crisis.
Is that a game?
It is.
That's a game.
I'll probably be streaming Pokemon or Elden Ring, one of the two. I will, at this point, guessing we're a couple months behind release from time of recording,
This
so
will probably be the fall, yeah.
Summer from the future. Gotta update my socials because when we recorded and when now it is, my handles have changed a bit. My Twitch is still twitch.tv/St. Ridley. My Blue Sky is now ts-elliot.bsky.social. My Twitter is at @ts_Elliot_. Instagram is @_ts_Elliot. I also have a Fansly now. If you like giving trans people money so they can afford facial feminization surgery and other healthcare stuff, but you don't want to just give it to them for giving it to them, you can get nudes instead. That is ts_Elliot. I also have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. All those are St. Ridley, SAINTRIDLEY. If you feel like just giving me money, that works too. I'll be on Twitch later, probably tonight and next week's episode night, because I want to play some Pokemon Emerald Nuzlocking. So, yeah, that's my plugs. Summer out. Bye.
By the time this one drops, there'll be another Jurassic Park movie.
That one will be called The Wasteland.
Wasteland.
I shudder to think
colon,
what a
Jurassic
new
Park.
Jurassic World
movie.
The
could
Wasteland,
be,
Jurassic World.
because the one that ripped this one off managed to learn none of the lessons from this one, and also just didn't have any of the "this is so dumb" that it becomes funny to it. It was just, why is 2/3 of the movie in a house?
Not enough snarling in this movie.
And I literally am in the process of trying to gather money to file for bankruptcy and struggling.
It's cool that bankruptcy filing costs money.
Yeah, and I managed to lose an entire week's paycheck to my bank closing my account because I couldn't get the money together to file for bankruptcy before they did. So I lost that because they applied it to my debt. And so, St. Ridley on Cash App or Venmo if you are feeling motivated to help a trans woman have money to exist in a terrible world.
Yep.
In a Jurassic World.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it's a lost world.
Yeah. I wish we could lose this world.
Josh only wants Jurassic Park, crib death.
Yes. Well, Summer, thank you for
Summer,
subjecting your childhood to the scrutiny of the Unkind Rewind.
thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You got this one off Josh's list. God damn it!
All right.
I was never going to watch it.
It was on there. It was on your list. I know it.
This was not on a list.
I put it on the list.
Shy. It made the list. Thanks, Summer.
It made my list of things to do. Fucking time machine crib death, this fucker.
Always on that note. Which somehow is our trademark. Time machine crib death.
You've just listened to another installment of the Unkind Rewind podcast, mining and potentially ruining your childhood for content, one film at a time. Unkind Rewind is a Munchcast production and can be ingested wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Unkind Rewind YouTube channel. Music for this and every other episode of Unkind Rewind was composed by Divorcio Suave. Rate, review, like, and subscribe to Unkind Rewind on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Good Pods. Links to all our social media accounts are in our show notes, but you'll find us as at Unkind Rewind Pod on nearly every social media platform, all of which are available at our website, unkindrewind.com. If you have a question, concern, complaint, or feedback, you can email the podcast at unkindrewindpod@gmail.com or call into our call-in line, area code 507-479-6440, and leave a message that can be played on air. Fans should join the Munchcast Discord to discuss this or any other episode of the Unkind Rewind with like-minded people. This dialogue may just make it into a future episode of the pod. The Unkind Rewind Patreon will be coming soon, so start squirreling that pocket change away. Thank you for listening to another Unkind Rewind.